Thank you. Yes, Okello? Let's not eat into debating time. Yes. Give Okello the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I've got a question related to that, whereas I also support the issue of IBC that needs to be fast-tracked based on the fact that at least not less than 2 constituencies are now disenfranchised as a result of IBC.
Jared Okello, that is a moot point. Your own leader has said this here 5 times.
Yeah, I've got a question.
I don't know why you should repeat it.
I'm coming to a question, Honorable
Take
Speaker.
your seat. If you want to use up your leader's powers, the Speaker will not assist you on that. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33C, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Tuesday, 25th June 2024, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business. As members of that opinion say aye, will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024, resumption of debate.
Yes, Honorable Wandai.
Give him the mic. Give him the mic.
Why? His mic is... I'm told your mic is malfunctioning. Put where Kainan is.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, sorry. Honorable Speaker, I've got an issue I need to raise now before we can proceed with the debate that was going on yesterday. Honorable Speaker, my attention has been drawn to a letter purportedly emanating from the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. I had dated 19th June, that was yesterday, and addressed to the Clerk of the National Assembly. It's also copied to the Right Honorable Speaker. And it's a letter concerning request for the advisory on conclusion of supply and ways and means process by the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, going through this letter in a nutshell, really, in summary, the National Treasury CS is purporting to direct this House that, and I want just to read some paragraph here, that we further note that following the ongoing debate on the Finance Bill 2024, should the Finance Bill 2024 be approved as proposed by the National Treasury, the National Assembly can proceed with the consideration of the appropriations bill as published. However, if the revenue-raising measures contained in the finance bill are not approved by the National Assembly, there will be a likely revenue shortfall of approximately Kenya shillings 200 billion. In order to remain within the provisions of the law, I'm just paraphrasing, we propose the following measures, and so on and so forth. Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, the Cabinet Secretary is treading on very slippery grounds, and indeed dangerous grounds. First, by purporting to direct the House on what it's supposed to do in its legislative role. 2, is also anticipating debate, because as far as I'm aware, we are still at the stage of debating this bill. it is not the duty of anybody out there to start anticipating how the bill will go. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, Article 221 of the Constitution, if you can listen to, just pay me attention. Article 221 of the Constitution. Article 6, it says that when the estimates of national government expenditure and the estimates of expenditure for the judiciary and parliament have been approved by the National Assembly, they shall be included in an appropriation bill which shall be introduced into the National Assembly to authorize withdrawal from the consolidation fund, and so on and so forth. That is the Constitution. But if you go further to the Public Finance Management Act, Section 40, subsection 5, it says, and I want just to read quickly, that any of the recommendations made by the relevant committee of the National Assembly or adopted by the National Assembly on revenue matters shall, among other things, ensure that the total amount of revenue raised is consistent with the approved fiscal framework and the Division of Revenue Act. What am I saying? If you read the Constitution at Article 221(5), together with the Public Finance Management Act, Section 40, Honorable Speaker, subsection 5, you arrive at the conclusion that the appropriations bill can only be informed by the estimates, not by the finance bill, Honorable Speaker. That the appropriations bill can only flow or emanate from the estimates that we have actually approved this week also in this House. So what, therefore, is the CS purporting to say here? He's saying that if we don't approve the finance bill as in the form it originated from, I think, National Treasury, we shall have, therefore, to review or change the appropriations bill to conform with the finance bill as passed. Honorable Speaker, my submission is that it is the bill, first and foremost, we need to know from the chair of the Committee on Finance. Because the work of the Committee on Finance is to look for ways to raise money to finance the budget that has been passed. Are they saying that they were unable to look for money to finance the budget that we passed last week? If so, the logical thing, Honorable Speaker, is to do a supplementary budget. That is the only logical thing, not to do what the CS is purporting to direct us to do here. So what I want to ask you, Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, is to call the CS to order. To order from your chair. He cannot be seen to be supervising this House. In other words, actually he's trying to put pressure on this House to act in a particular manner. Yes. The CS of National Treasury, who is not elected by anybody, as far as I'm concerned, is purporting to supervise this House in its legislative role. Something that flies in the face of the Constitution and the relevant law, Honorable Speaker. So I would want, at the very least, that you direct that this letter be withdrawn by the National Treasury. And secondly, to compel him to commit not to attempt, now or in the future, to try to dictate to this House in the manner it's supposed to conduct its business. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and let me thank the Leader of Majority for raising this particular issue about this letter. But, Honorable Speaker, the Minority Leader, sorry. Honorable Speaker, you know, they say any name can raise a baby. And today you are the majority, tomorrow you can be the minority. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me, the slip of the tongue, referring to the Honorable Pio Wandai as the leader of majority. At times I've had people, the slip of the tongue, refer to Junet as a majority whip. At times I am referred to as a minority leader, majority whip. Any name is a name, provided we do what we are here to do. And Honorable Pio will tell you, in the last parliament, when we were with him here, the majority side, that was Jubilee, became the minority and had to depend on the minority side in its own government to pretend to be the majority. The leader of majority then, the Honorable Kimunya, the last 2 years, was the leader of the majority, but was actually a leader of the minority from the majority side. Because the Honorable Aden Duale, who was a ranking member like the Honorable John Buddy, was the leader of the majority on the majority side. But moving on, Honorable Speaker, I was thanking the Honorable Pio for raising this issue because it's important that we all get to an understanding not just of the import of this letter, but the import of all the proposed amendments that we will do to the finance bill, Honorable Speaker. And it's good that when you are responding to Honorable Nyikal, you did point out some of those issues. And principally, Honorable Speaker, the last point that I added, that this being a money bill, we must get the concurrence of the National Treasury. And there is reason as to why the drafters of our Constitution, Article 114, put that particular provision of concurrence with the National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, if you read that letter, it points to provisions of the law as it is. Professor Ndungu, who assigned this letter, is not referring to anything that is outside of the law and the provisions of our Constitution. He refers to Section 39(4)(c) of the PFM Act, which requires that any increase in expenditure in a proposed appropriation is balanced by a reduction in expenditure in another proposed appropriation. Honorable Speaker, he goes on to quote Section 45 of the PFM Act and other sections of the PFM Act that indicate that if we are to reduce the proposed revenue estimates, Honorable Speaker, then concurrently, and I said it on Tuesday, something must give in. If we reduce taxes that are proposed to be the revenue-raising measures to finance the budget that we have adopted, then we must find a way of either reducing expenditure, the expenditure side, because if you don't do so, what you will do is increase the fiscal deficit. It is this House, Honorable Speaker, and I was hoping the Honorable Juguna Ndungu had pointed to it, and I see he hadn't, that we passed a debt ceiling in this House. We cannot go beyond that which we have passed in this House. The National Treasury cannot borrow beyond a certain point, a ceiling that we have set by law in this House. And therefore, if we're asking that let us reduce the revenues, but don't touch the expenditure side, what we are doing is simply telling the National Treasury, increase the fiscal deficit against the law. And we cannot act against the law. I know we are the lawmakers, but we are not allowed by the Constitution to act ultra vires the Constitution. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, what the Cabinet Secretary, it could be a preemptive. It could be preemptive that I want to agree with the Honorable Pio. It is preempting debate, but the Honorable Juguna Ndungu, CS Juguna Ndungu, is not engaging in debate. This is an advisory opinion to us, reminding us that we need to abide by the Constitution and by our own laws. Honorable Speaker, the leader of minority spoke to the need, and he has asserted that the right thing, and he said it so emphatically you would want to believe him, that the right thing to do is to do a supplementary budget. That is the wrong thing to do. It is the wrong thing to do, Honorable Speaker, because you cannot begin from a mistake and say now we will break the law at this particular stage, then we will fix it with a supplementary budget. Supplementary budget should only come in once we have in the first instance, bound by what is provided for in the law, we have not burst our fiscal deficit as stipulated under our PFM Act. And if in the course of implementation of this budget, there are additional expenditures that then would lead to a bursting of that fiscal deficit, then we call for a supplementary budget. But we cannot say that at this point what we should be doing is a supplementary budget. What shall we be supplementing if we are even yet to pass the appropriations bill? We need to pass the appropriations bill and the finance bill so that we complete the budget-making cycle. Once you complete the budget-making cycle, then after that you can do a supplementary budget. But we cannot complete a budget-making cycle against the law. And that is what Honorable Pio and I is telling us that we should do. It is my humble submission, Honorable Speaker, then, that this letter is in good standing, and this is the way it is. I saw a number of votes, Honorable Speaker, and I said on Tuesday, Honorable Speaker, when this report was tabled, that someone once quipped that choices have consequences. And in lawmaking, the same is true. If we choose to cut on our revenue-raising measures, as the Finance Committee has proposed, there will definitely be consequences. Honorable Speaker, I am fortunate to have been in this House in the last Parliament. The Honorable Andai, who has raised this issue, and the Honorable Junet were in this House in 2018. In 2018, Honorable Speaker, you remember the contentious Uhuru second term, the second finance bill. It was equally contentious. And you remember the debate that was there then about fuel, from 16%, 8%, from 0% VAT. And when we did the revenue-raising measures bill in the form of a finance bill, consequently, we had to adjust the expenditure side. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is not the first time it is happening, and it is not the last time. Therefore, if our JSS teachers, who we appropriated resources to hire, if there isn't adequate resources to hire JSS teachers, then something has to give in. If there is a road in Ugunja constituency that was to be tarmacked, and the resources are not enough, or in Kikuyu constituency for that matter, then we just have to do away with them, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, I just want to ask the Honorable Pio to hold his horses. In actual fact, what we are doing now is anticipating debate, Honorable Speaker. We are the ones now who are anticipating debate because we are yet to complete the finance bill, because at the conclusion of the finance bill, it is only at that point we'll be able to tell the net effect of all the changes that have been made and decide whether then we need whatever quantum we need to adjust on the expenditure side. Honorable Speaker, let me just conclude by saying we cannot and we shall not have our cake and eat it at the same time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, this issue is very straightforward, but for purposes of record, I'll give you a direction at 2:30. Meanwhile, we proceed with the debate. It has absolutely no impact on the debate going on. I will give you a direction at 2:30. Order, Honorable Wandai, you have so ably prosecuted your case, and the majority leader has responded. Budget Chairman, I will, in fact, pass on these letters to you. So I'm not opening debate on this. Call out the next order. Order, honorable members. Order. When I came to the chamber, I had seen this letter. And I had also my own feelings about it. I'll give you direction at 2:30. I don't have to consume parliamentary time debating something that is very clear in my mind. My thoughts are very rich, Junet. Have you called us? Order, honorable members, order. Back to the finance bill. We have 120 requests. With 120 requests, at 5 minutes, we need about 9 to 10 hours. Can I ask the majority and minority leader to approach the chair? The majority and minority leader approach the chair. Order, honorable members. Order. Wangela, take your seat. Order. Badi, take your seat. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, I want us to proceed as follows. We have Honorable is it Zambia, who has 3.5 minutes to go. I've told you how many of you have keyed in. At 7 a.m. this morning, 50 members had already keyed in. But that shows the intensity of interest in the bill. We will start the debate now up to 1. In the afternoon, I'll give you 1 hour from 2:30 to 3:30. We will not need Honorable Pukose to call for the mover to reply. The mover will be called by the speaker to reply at 3:30, whereafter we shall go to vote. I've consulted with your leadership on whether we should go on with 5 minutes and cut off at the hours we have agreed, or allow more members to contribute by truncating the time to 3 minutes. If you agree to 3 minutes, we can truncate the time to 3 minutes so that more members can speak. Is that all right with the House? I put the question that the time for contribution be reduced from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Secondly, honorable members, I encourage you to desist from raising frivolous points of order, because some members have been raising points of order that are completely far from points of order. Yes. So, in Zambia, you finish your 3.5 minutes. The next members I call, you'll be taking 3 minutes. Members, you also keyed in very early, but sometimes the chair may not necessarily follow the list because you find like you have 10 members in a row from one side. We have to balance the House. So we will be jumping and zigzagging in the list to make sure there's some balanced representation on the floor. Zambia, go on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, we have a responsibility as a House to protect the interests of our Kenyan citizens. Honorable Speaker, I totally oppose this finance bill. Reasons being that, Honorable Speaker, we understand that the motor vehicle tax, edible oil tax, among others, have been deleted. But Honorable Speaker, there are so many hidden taxes. Honorable Speaker, when you talk of 7 shillings per liter in fuel levy, it means that the cost of production in the local industries will go up. Honorable Speaker, even the cost of producing bread will be higher than even the normal rate as at now. Honorable Speaker, our Kenyan citizens are struggling to put food on the table. Honorable Speaker, the cost of living is going to increase even further if we consider passing this bill. Honorable Speaker, I urge members of this House to consider the cry outside there of Akina Wanjiku and the others. Honorable Speaker, the life of the Kenyan citizen of running businesses is totally unbearable as we speak now. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to the local industries, they are closing down their businesses. Reason being that the cost of production is going high and high every time. And Honorable Speaker, we have come to understand that most of the industries are closing down, making it not possible to keep on employing more of the Kenyan citizens. And Honorable Speaker, when we talk of the NDF, there are so many hidden costs which the Kenyan, as a House, we should come out clear to make sure that the cost of living of the Kenyan citizens is bearable. Thank you, Honorable Chair, Speaker, and as the government, when you talk of the hustlers, the borders, the mama bokas, it is very clear that the things are getting worse and out of hand. Honorable Speaker, I urge this government to reconsider getting a better finance bill to move the Kenyan citizens forward. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Mandera West. Member for Mandera West. Order, honorable members. Order. The conversations are too loud. Order. Cynthia Muge, take your seat. You've been standing there for 10 minutes. Honorable members, those who want to engage in conversations, there's a lobby out there. You can go and converse and come back. Give me time to hear what members are saying, and give those who want to listen to debate. Member for Mandera West. Give him a functioning mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to contribute to this very important bill that is in front of us. Mr. Speaker, sir, finance bill is an annual event. It has been done from the time Kenya was born up to this time. I personally, I think this is the seventh one I am contributing or participating in. And therefore, we all know that without finance bill, there will be no government activity. If you don't pass finance bill and allow the government to continue with its activity, there will be no government activities. And we all know that the government is there for the interest of the community, the larger community. I take this opportunity to sincerely thank the Finance Committee for listening, for doing a very thorough public participation all over the country, and for listening to the various issues that has been raised by the public, and for particularly saying that the contentious issues such as the VAT on bread, motor vehicle, the eco levy on sanitary pads and diapers, the excise duties on vegetable oil and others, which were contentious, they have already recommended that it be dropped. And therefore, it is for this House to concur with the recommendation of the Finance Committee to drop those very contentious issues. I have been called by my constituents so much, but as I explained to them what has been dropped, and particularly the finance bill is looking at putting 1 billion shilling for restocking. As you all know that the area where I represent and others had a serious drought for 4 years, and we lost almost all our livestock, and we don't have any other livelihood except rearing of livestock. And this finance bill is giving us 1 billion to restock. That is a very big gain, and my constituents have told me that make sure that 1 billion is protected. Honorable Speaker, sir, there are very important gains in this finance bill, particularly.
Your time up. Irene Mayaka. You have 3 minutes, so compose your thoughts and compress them quickly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I take this opportunity to emphatically reject the finance bill. And Honorable Speaker, one of the things that I just want to say and make very clear is that we should not subject ourselves to the pressures that are being implemented by the IMF on funding conditions that they're giving to this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Gen Z and the people of Kenya because they exercise their rights under Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution, together with Article 37 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, in my quest to reject the finance bill, one of the things that I just want to say very clearly, I keep hearing members telling us that we need to start using locally manufactured sanitary towels, and especially to our male members. I just want to tell you, stop taking Panadols for our headache. Locally manufactured sanitary pads are not of good quality. You cannot expect young girls out there to use pads that will make them have infections and such like things. Honorable Speaker, some of the clauses that I really want us to look into and come and also reject is, for example, clause number 63 that talks about KRA having access to our information. Clause number 23 that talks about amateur sporting association being added additional tax. Honorable Speaker, some of the repercussions that we will have as a country if we continue with this finance bill is that we are making our investment climate to become a very unpredictable one. We will make our country not be and have appetite for investments from foreign investors and local investors.
That is the case in the villages. Honorable Speaker, you may say we are going to impose taxes only on imported table eggs. But how will you distinguish between those eggs you're using to hatch and the eggs to be eaten on the table? Yeah. Do we have the machinery to confirm it? Honorable Speaker, there is no empirical data. And this is where I think the Finance Committee failed this House. Do we have data in terms of the amount of eggs which are imported against the amounts produced locally that are in our market? Once we increase the price for imported eggs, going by the amounts, my fear, Honorable Speaker, is that when you go to the shop, you will not distinguish. Honorable Speaker, the last...
Time up. Ferdinand Wanyonyi. It is 3 minutes. Don't talk as if it is 10 minutes. It's 3 minutes.
I want to take this opportunity, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, to remind this House that the budget is actually an annual circulation, and therefore I'll ask members, and I think the opportunity is there, not only that, but not to whip our emotion on this. Let's not whip our emotion on this. The opportunity has been given to us to have suggestions, so that I can be able to have suggestions that can be able to at least correct whatever we have gone wrong, to be able to correct and put in whatever input you can put to be able to create more opportunities for our people. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, mine is to ask members to come up with those suggestions, because the ball is in our court, to be able to come up with whatever suggestions you have, to be able to correct and implement some of these issues that can be able to make this country to be self-sustainable. As you know, you are told Kenya is now the 27th fastest growing economy in the whole country. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to thank the committee led by my brother Kimani, that we should be able to move faster and be able to come in with suggestions to be able to move, because one of which, as you say, you want to dismiss this particular proposal. We have CDF, and have given us like 50 million shillings. We have the CALF for the ladies, that again, 30 million shillings. And of course, electricity, to be able to have our country with a nice approach to economy by having electricity all over the country. Therefore, I think this bill is good enough. We should not actually dismiss it for the sake of it. We should be able to come in with positive approach to be able to move forward. As it is today, we just want to dismiss because somebody called me and asked him, what do you want me to remove? He didn't even know. So let's not go by emotion. Let's go by whatever we have and be able to move forward our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Manduku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For avoidance of doubt, I stand to oppose the Finance Bill 2024 and urge my colleagues to vote no. Mr. Speaker, the bill as presented before the House goes against our own tax policy, which we approved in this House. But curiously, Mr. Speaker, in an effort to expand the tax base, there's a provision that has been sneaked in that will compel families to pay capital gains tax on land that they transfer to their children. If you look at the proposal to amend the Stamp Duty Act Cap 480, I find it difficult that if I give my son land, or if I ask my family to donate land to my children, I'll be compelled to pay some taxes. Further than that, Mr. Speaker, and having worked at the Port of Mombasa, I can tell you that this country is a net importer. And therefore, increasing the IDF fees
by 0.5% will have a net effect of having expensive goods manufactured locally. Mr. Speaker, there's a provision also in this bill that seeks to expand or to extend the number of days that the Kenya Revenue Authority can get back to taxpayers on decision making from the 60 days to 90 days. I find it curious that we want to give the taxman a lot of time to get back to us on very simple decisions which would otherwise streamline taxation. Mr. Speaker, my advice to the government is that they should get down to work. Avoid listening to tweeting economists and avoid too many prayers. Get back to work and grow the economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kajiado Central.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the Finance Bill 2024 for the following reason, Honorable Speaker. One, the Finance Act 2023 had reduced the import declaration fee from 3.5 to 2.5%. This, Honorable Speaker, not only gave us a whole of 10 billion shillings, but it also encouraged importation. And Honorable Speaker, we all know the net effect of this. The proposed finance bill, Honorable Speaker, is proposing to take back the importation declaration fee to 3.5 and therefore discouraging importation and therefore growing our industries. Honorable Speaker, I'd like to commend the Gen Zs who have been out there, but also advise them to seek information, because one of the reasons why these young people are out in the streets is mainly because of unemployment. This importation declaration fee that has been increased seeks to grow our manufacturing sector and therefore seeks to employ the same young people. Second, Honorable Speaker, is the eco levy in clause 45 of the bill. Honorable Speaker, we all know the effects of climate change, the negative effects of climate change. This levy, Honorable Speaker, seeks to protect our environment from environmental wastes, which is one of the contributors to climate change. Honorable Speaker, we could go on on climate change and the effects and the negative effects that this has brought to the economy of this country. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, as a pastoralist, and I also urge the pastoralist members who are here to be keen. In the past budget, we have 1 billion shillings that is meant to be restocking money for our people. Our people had suffered losses due to drought. The 1 billion is going to be a game changer to our people. There is also money for value addition. And this, Honorable Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Karole Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak to this bill. Let me begin by acknowledging that the bill is 132 pages and 65 clauses. So to say that you are rejecting it in totality is just playing to the gallery. I think there are good things and bad things about in the bill. Mr. Speaker, I would like to talk to three things only because of the limitation of time. The first one is a clause that is being introduced in this bill on tax abandonment. I've not had a lot of public discussion on it. But for the first time, we are being asked to make provision in law for the Commissioner of Tax, together with the CS Treasury, to give tax waivers where, in their view, the tax cannot be collected. I think this is a very, very fundamental activity that requires the input of this House. I think tax that is due is already public property, and any activity to waive it or to claim that it can be abandoned must have the input of this House. So I will be recommending, or rather I've already recommended certain amendments that will come to the floor of the House to recast this particular clause to see that any attempts to abandon tax are subject to approval of this House, as well as the requirements of Articles 201 and 210 of the Constitution of Kenya. Secondly, there is another provision in this particular bill talking about investment allowance for spectrum use. I believe this matter should be looked into detail because it also has retroactive effects on the tax that will be collected from the telecom companies. I believe there's a lot of work as Parliament we need to do on this matter to see that we do not.
If possible, you could add me a few minutes so that I bring forth a message. If possible, you could add me a few minutes so that I bring forth a message I have for the House.
Okay, I'll give you an extra 2 minutes, so you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as the rule provides in the PFM Act, Article 39A, that we have to balance our expenditure and our revenues. Honorable Speaker, I want to talk as the chairman of budget, and I actually want to talk as an indifferent party, that whatever may happen on the bill, the Budget and Appropriations Committee is prepared, Honorable Speaker. But from the onset, we want to laud Kenyans for their voices. This country belongs to Kenyans, and when they express themselves, they are doing precisely what the Constitution provides. I also want to laud all the Kenyan leaders, including our side of government and the other side, Honorable Speaker, because we are all geared to the welfare of the Kenyan people. Honorable Speaker, I have since, and I want members to, if possible, they can have this in their mind as we debate. I have since received a letter and communication from the National Treasury addressed to the clerk of the National Assembly, but I am copied as the chairperson of budget. And Honorable Speaker, the Treasury is looking in all scenarios. Scenario number one, if the bill passes only with the amendments from the Finance Committee. Scenario number two is actually if the bill, the MPs in their wisdom decide that we shelve it. And Honorable Speaker, if the status quo remains, that we pass the bill as proposed by the Honorable Kimani Kuria and the committee, the appropriations bill passes as it is, Honorable Speaker, as we did last week. However, Honorable Speaker, it is important for members to note that in case there is a downfall in terms of the revenues by the proposed 200 billion that was to be raised in the finance bill, Honorable Speaker, then the government and the National Treasury and the Budget Committee is also prepared for that scenario. And I have communication, Honorable Speaker, from the National Treasury from the proposals. And I wish that I read some of them, that if the bill does not pass, Honorable Speaker, we'll be reducing the budget for the State House for 51 million, budget at the State Office of the President for 51 million, security organs, defense, for example, will be losing 7.75 billion, ongoing pivots in our constituencies will have to shelve that ambition by reducing by 800 million, Honorable Speaker. Higher Education Loans Board will be losing 3.2 billion. Honorable Speaker, the JSS teachers, 46,000 of them, Honorable Speaker, by letting this bill pass, will actually be giving jobs at the permanent and pensionable. And Honorable Speaker, if the wisdom of this House is to shelve that decision, then it means the JSS teachers, whom, Honorable Speaker, I would persuade this house that we confirm there will be no funding. NGCDF will be reducing by 15 billion shillings, which is 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker. The monies we appropriated for electricity, 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker, by, again, not giving the National Treasury the power for more revenue-raising measures, the 50 million per constituency will be disappearing today, Honorable Speaker. Coffee Cheriford will be cut 1 billion, Honorable Speaker, if there is no funding, Honorable Speaker, through the finance bill. Our last plea is this. This letter is public information. It can be shared to the members of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, my plea is this, as the chairman of budget, that if it's possible, the House Business Committee can actually bring the appropriations bill this afternoon. That the decision that we take in the finance bill, we can also cascade the same by appropriating the proposed cuts in the appropriation bill so that we can finish the entire business today, Honorable Speaker. However, Honorable Speaker, I am sure with the same energy that we are speaking either for or against, we will also explain to Kenyans, the JS test teachers, I am sure those who will be voting against their confirmation to PNP, we will also explain to them, Honorable Speaker. Those voting against increment in CDF will also be, Honorable Speaker, explaining to Kenyans about it. Those who will be voting against the increment, Honorable Speaker, of employing 20,000 more teachers will have an ample time to explain to the teachers of this country, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, the proposed cut in terms of roads is 15 billion. Those who will be voting against the increment of 15 billion to roads, I am sure they'll eloquently explain to Kenyans about it also, Honorable Speaker.
A minute to finish. Order.
Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members, order. Order. Give him 3 minutes and wind up.
Honorable Speaker, I want to be very objective. Honorable Speaker, these are the proposed cuts in case there is no revenue-raising measures as proposed by Honorable Kimani Kuria. Honorable Speaker, number one, as I said, I want to be very clear. State House has been cut money 500 million. Office of the President, another 500 million. Security like defense is 7.75 billion cuts. Honorable Speaker, the same. We have already promised our JSS teachers that the 46,000 of them will be employed on permanent and pensionable. Honorable Speaker, if we don't give the National Treasury the power for revenue-raising measures, it means the people will be voting against the confirmation of the 46,000 interns. Will have ample time to explain to them how they voted against them getting permanent jobs, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the reduction in NGCDF is 15 billion shillings. That is a small figure, Honorable Speaker, because I can see members are saying 50 million is not much. In Kiharo, it's a lot of money, Honorable Speaker, that every constituency will be cut 50 million shillings starting July, Honorable Speaker. GAF, we just added them 500 million. Honorable Speaker, the proposal is to reverse the 500 million and also to reduce further by an extra 1 billion, Honorable Speaker. The monies we appropriated for electricity, 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker. I hope those who will be voting against electrification in our villages will have time to explain to Kenyans why they are voting against electricity in our rural areas, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there is a proposed reduction.
Order. Honorable Commissioner Mishi, I know you differently. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members on both sides of the House. Order. Order. Honorable members on both sides of the House. In the tradition of Parliament, if you approve of something, you thumb your feet. You don't wail and shout as if you are in a rally. This is not a rally. This is a House of Parliament. Dindi, can you wind up?
Honorable Speaker, the other thing is that there is a proposed reduction of 1 billion shillings in livestock restocking. From our side, we believe those who lost their livestock deserve to be compensated. Those who will vote against 1 billion that is going to livestock restocking will explain to our pastoralist, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, also, the monies proposed for reduction for school feeding program is 1.8 billion. On our side, we believe the 1.8 billion is needed to feed the children of this country as they go to our schools, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the political parties, we can all agree in unison. We are proposing a cut of 900 million. I know that is not contentious. We can agree to cut it this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, because we are also prepared for it. Honorable Speaker, there is a proposed cut of 5.5 billion shillings for cash transfer. Our parents who registered last year deserve to get their cash transfer.
Order, time up. Bet Simba. Order.
Asante sana
Rosa Buyu,
Mheshimiwa.
you have already spoken on this bill. You have no business doing what you are doing.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa na mimi niweze kuzungumzia kuhusu mswada huu wa fedha. Mimi nimesimama kuupinga mswada huu. Na kitu nitasema hapa, viongozi muheshimu malalamishi ama matakwa ya wananchi. Muisikize vilio vya wananchi. Kuongeza ushuru wa mafuta kutapandisha kila bidhaa ambayo inahusiana na mafuta. Kwa hivyo hii ni shughuli ambayo haifai kwa sababu gharama za maisha zitakuwa juu. Kuweka ushuru kwa bidhaa zinazotoka ng'ambo zitamrudia tena mwananchi, kwa sababu bidhaa zinazotengenezwa hapa nchini bado haziwezi kukimu mahitaji yetu, mpaka tutachukua tena kutoka kule zile za ng'ambo ambazo zitaleta shida zaidi. Kwanza tutengeneze viwanda vyetu kabla tujaweka ushuru huo. Na kuhusu kwamba fedha zitatoka wapi, wapunguze matumizi katika ofisi za serikali. Wanaweka pesa nyingi kuhudumia wageni wakija. Kama mgeni amekuja, mpe maji ya kunywe, na kama ni lazima akae paka mchana, mpe kidheri, mwambie hiyo ndio chakula chetu cha kitamaduni, sio kukula makuku na madino kwa gharama za wananchi. Mnaleta paka tu katika sehemu zenu. Kupandisha bei ya mikate, mwananchi wa kawaida ni bidhaa ambayo inatumika kwa kila boma. Kila boma asubuhi na jioni tumia mikate. Wewe unaenda kuongeza ushuru wa mkate. Na mkifanya hivyo tutakunywa chai na mgoka kama ndio mnataka hivyo. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba serikali ipunguze ile matumizi ambao wao wanafanya. Wapunguze safari wanazokwenda nje. Waende mahali ikiwa ni muhimu na ni watu wawili pekee yake, hapana kwenda watu 30 alafu mnasema wananchi waongeze ushuru na huku mmechukua ndege nzima mnaenda nayo huko nje. Mnakwenda mahoteli, mnazungumza ambao mikutano mnaweza fanya katika boardroom zenu. Hiyo ndio sio ni matatizo. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema kwamba ushuru ama hii mswada wa fedha uangushwe huu, kwa sababu wananchi wameusoma. Msione wale watoto wale vijana wameandamana, walisoma kwa sababu huu mswada uko katika mitandao, wanajua kila kipengee kile kilichoko pale. Mnaongeza matairi, mnaongeza vyombo ambavyo vitapima saratani. Mnaongeza bidhaa ambazo za x-ray ambao tayari matibabu ni gharama, na saizi mnaongeza tena. Itakuwa zaidi, watu wanaumia, watoto wanajinyonga huko kwa sababu ya depression ambao ziko nazo. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesimama kupinga mswada huu. Asante sana.
Mwengi Mutuse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my friends. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to make a very brief contribution. And my contribution, first of all, is to debunk some erroneous myths that have been perpetuated in this debate. Mr. Speaker, during this debate, a perception has been created that the contestations are around the finance bill have only happened after President William Ruto became president. Nothing can be far from the truth. Mr. Speaker, those of us who are students of history know that taxation began 3,000 years before Christ, actually in the ancient kingdom of Egypt. And even at that time, taxation was contentious. It has also been said before this House during the government of Kenyatta 1, during the government of President Moi, during the government of President Kibaki, during the government of Kenyatta 2, and even now, the finance bill has been an annual event, and it has never been a smooth sail. But something different has happened this year, Mr. Speaker. During the many times that the finance bill has been presented before Parliament, a lot of the times the voices of the people have never been factored by either the Parliament or by the executive. But for the first time in history, the voices of the people have been heard and have been factored in the report that was presented before this House by the Finance Committee. One of the principles of good governance is responsiveness. Responsiveness to the wishes of the people. And I want to laud the Finance Committee for being responsive to the wishes of the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, politics is a very interesting game. On Tuesday, and if we may be heard in silence, Mr. Speaker, on Tuesday, after we finished our parliamentary group, I had a very jovial discussion with some of my friends who are on the other side. I had very jovial discussions with some of my friends who are on the other side, and they were saying, why have you removed everything that you wanted to rely on in the finance bill to do politics? And I asked them, but you complained about these things, and you have been heard and they have been removed. And they told me, you know, the work of opposition is to oppose. And now that you have pulled the carpet under our feet, we must find something new to hang on. I am saying this so that Kenyans know that the opposition to the finance bill is majorly inspired by politics. It may not be inspired by the content. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, as a lawyer, I want to say, and this would have been ably articulated if I may get 1 minute, that the issues that have been complained of have already been overtaken by events. They are actually otious. Finally, what is the effect of rejecting the finance bill? The effect of rejecting the finance bill is to resort back to the finance bill of
Joseph Oyula.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this important bill. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by thanking the Finance Committee for the work well done. It took a long time, but they came up with a good report. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the amendments that were made, this bill was a disaster. This bill is assuming that the Kenyans' tax rate should move to a higher rate regime, which is not comfortable for this country at all. Mr. Speaker, we should not take ourselves to a higher tax regime, which is going to cause stress to our business community and the individuals. The country needs to move slowly towards a higher tax regime. If the country is moved very fast, Mr. Speaker, then we will not balance our budget. Mr. Speaker, we need to make sure that the revenue is raised, yes, but also the tax rate is comfortable to the community of this country. Mr. Speaker, as we go through this bill, Mr. Speaker, let us note that increasing the tax rates does not guarantee raising that money. It has happened in the bill for 2023, we never made it. The chances are that during this period, we may also not make it. So the Treasury should not come up with such a disastrous proposal in the tax rates. It is for this reason, Mr. Speaker, that we are rejecting this bill, and I would want the Treasury to take it back and come up with a bill that is balanced, a bill that will ensure the country is raising revenue, and a bill that will ensure the people of Kenya are not stressed. This is very important because If we raise the tax and we don't get that money, it will not help the country at all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jane Kagiri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, allow me to start by congratulating the Finance Committee for listening to Kenyans and honoring their request on the deletion of the taxes that they felt that were punitive on them. Honorable Speaker, I would want to contribute on the clause on the introduction of eco-levy on sanitary towels and diapers. Honorable Speaker, I speak as the chairperson of the 47 women representatives. And recently, Honorable Speaker, we had the opportunity of enacting the Education Act of 2016, where we ensured that every student from class 5 to class 8, girls receive their sanitary towels. Honorable Speaker, out of the 47 counties, only 4 local manufacturers were given the opportunity to supply these sanitary towels. Honorable Speaker, this prominent house has been treated to a lot of drama and untruthful stories of the situation we find ourselves with sanitary towels. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to state that this levy has been introduced so that we encourage our local production and our local manufacturers, Honorable Speaker. I hear some members say that we will have low supply because we don't have enough manufacturers. Honorable Speaker, I have had conversations with our manufacturers who are able to produce enough sanitary towels for us. Honorable Speaker, a visit to the supermarkets made me learn that sanitary towels that are locally manufactured are cheaper than those that are imported. Honorable Speaker, we cannot allow importers to continue making unscrupulous profits on Kenyans here, yet they pay no excise on their products, and the local manufacturers have to pay VAT on their raw materials. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this bill, and I stand to support the eco-levy be charged on sanitary towels and diapers to ensure that we grow our local manufacturers. A local manufacturer told me he used to have 600 employees. He has reduced them to 100 because of idle capacity. Honorable Speaker, it is our time to stop speaking from both sides of our mouths. If we want to create employment, we cannot be the defenders of importers. Anybody who wants to import can come set up the industry locally, and that way we are going to give them all the business that they need. And if they lack a place to go and establish their industries, I'm gladly welcoming them to Laikipia County, where they can come and set up a manufacturing industry, and we will not charge them any duty as long as they are producing diapers and sanitary towels locally within our country. Honorable Speaker, allow me to conclude by saying, Honorable Speaker, allow me to conclude by saying, I'm speaking as a user of sanitary towels, as well as a mother to a toddler who uses diapers. So, Honorable Speaker, anybody telling us about imported sanitary towels, they range from the price of 75 shillings to around 175 shillings. Locally produced sanitary towels are ranging between 55 shillings and 75 shillings.
Andon Olwach.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. From the very onset, allow me to say that I rise to oppose this bill. Honorable Speaker, the Finance Bill 2024-2025 has redefined our public discourse on things that affect us, especially on the question of how, when, what, and where to tax the people of Kenya. I want to take this opportunity to thank our Generation Z, because they have reminded us of what is stated under Article 2 and how we, as this legislative house, the executive and judiciary, arrive at the positions in which we arrive. Honorable Speaker, this generation in their public discourse on the question of the finance bill has reminded us that the sovereign power actually belongs to them. All this power